Welcome to this video on drag and drop, the hack edition. Hey, I'm Eric, and in this video I'm gonna do something with drag and drop. It's a very popular subject, and I'm gonna try a hack here. And since you're watching this video, that means that hopefully within the next hour I'll succeed in what I'm trying to do. But actually, I was planning to do something a bit simpler than the plan is right now. So let me show you something to begin with. Here is, if I can find it, here is a Business Central. And you can see right up here is the, that's the SharePoint connector. Let me actually see if I can make this so it's, yeah, perfect. So here's the SharePoint connector, and this customer is connected to SharePoint, and there's a bunch of test files on SharePoint for this customer. And as you can see, what's different about the SharePoint connector compared to other SharePoint connectors is that this is not HTML. This is just Business Central UI. The files are here. This is just a fact box with data from SharePoint. But if I grab a file explorer and I drag a file just onto the regular UI here, it gets uploaded. So this was the barcode file. There it is. It got uploaded to SharePoint. So what we have done in this app is actually made this piece of Business Central UI a drop zone, which is pretty cool, instead of having, in my opinions, a big box drop here, because that's just wasted screen real estate. So we can just drop directly onto the SharePoint thing. And my original plan for this video was, I'll show you how to do that. But then somebody, Jan, looking at you, texted me and said, "Hey Eric, how can you do, drag and drop sorting? So when you in BC, if you have a list like this list, how can you drag something so you can change the sorting, change the order?" And I told him, nope, cannot be done. But then I'm thinking that, why? I think it can be done. So this video is going to be about, see if we can make that work. So go away, SharePoint connector, because you are yesterday's news. And here is actually here's a list box. And I prepared something as usual. So I have a table, the primary key, a description, and then another key I call it sorting index. And there's a page for that. So that's simple. And I prepared the scaffolding for a user control. So it's called drag and drop, because I have high expectations it's going to work. And the usual style, one pixel, and there is an empty script and a startup script. So all the usual stuff. So let's just deploy this and see that what we have looks like what I had just before I started the video here. And clearly there's no drag and drop in this thing. I cannot do anything. So let's start by invoking the, let's look at what we have here. So I'll invoke the the browser console debugger thingy, and let's take a look at what we have. So this is what here? Here's a TD. So that's a table cell, table data. So there's probably a table row somewhere. Let's just click on this one and see what we get here. So we get a table D, and that's part of a table row, and that's part of a table body. So this is awesome. This is exactly what we need. So in the first step to implement any sort of drag and drop. So basically drag and drop in JavaScript is done in there's two parts. One is that you assign something to be draggable, and then there's a series of event listeners that you need to apply to the things that can react to a dragging situation, dropping situation. So let's see if we can do that. So I think the first thing we're going to do is try to locate the table. So if these are table rows, then let's locate the table, and we got that right here. Table ID bn underscore business grid role equal grid, area read on true, area multi-selectable true, class equal. So unfortunately, if you remember one of the JavaScript bench hacking benchmark workbench thingy, we end up using something called control name to locate something. But if I look at my page here, we can see that the repeater is called general. But I do not see that as a control name equal general. So we were not that lucky. So let's just look at something else. This is a hacking edition, so we're okay. Let's look at what do we have here. We have ms.nav grid data table. That's probably pretty good. So let's remember that ms-nav-grid-data-table. Okay, so here goes nothing. Drop script. So let's create a function to drag, drop, enable. Something that we can call and sort of set up everything, right? So remember when we have like a user control like this, it's always in an iframe. So let's call it drop table. Let drop table equal so window, that's the iframe. So window dot parent, that's the main page, and then we grab the DOM for that one, and then we can do a query selector. And when we use the query selector, is a very, you see, the parameter to this is just selectors, and there's like a million different syntaxes for that. But if we start that by a dot, we can just say we want to select something that has a specific class. So this was ms-nav-grid-data-table, I think. Let's verify. ms-nav-grid-data-table. Excellent. And the easiest way to figure out if we got something is let's do a quick dump to the console. So drag doc enable, we need to add that to our procedure. Drag drop enable, that's like this. And then let's go into the page, and after the repeater we'll add our, where are we? Oh, sorry, that's not there. We want to do it here. User control, what do we want to call it? I'm just going to call it HTML drag drop. That's fine. And I already implemented the on control ready thing. So this is a great place. The control is ready. Then we'll call current page.html.dragDrop enable. Bam. Let's run this. So what we want to see now is that we get the table printed to the console. And we didn't. And I know why, and this is classic, because application area. So I could suggest a drinking game that every time I forget to add an application area in a video, you grab a drink. Or not, I don't know. Let's see if this is better. There it is. So perfect, we got the right control. So this is straight out of the gate. This is just a huge hack because there could be more than one table on the screen. So, but anyway, this works for this hack. Did I mention that this is probably not something that you want to put into production if this works, or submit to app source? Then you probably need to find a bit more stable version to do this, but it works for my purpose right now. Okay, so we got the table. So now we need to get the rows. And we can kind of use the query selector for that also. So we can do rows equal drop table query selector, and we want all of them. And in this case, we want table tr elements. And then we can do some fancy JavaScript for each in rows. Call a function that takes a row as a parameter, and this is let's see where we are at. So let's think about this for a second, because if we look at this, there's a header. So the question is, what is the header? That's a TH. So that's actually a header. I think at some point I looked at this and I saw the word like a secret row. Let's see, outside the header. T header table row. Yeah. There's also there is a row here. Oh, this is a okay. What do we have here? Table header, table header, table header. Let's just grab this one for a second. This is table data, table data, table data, table data. Ah, table body. There it is. So this is a row, this is a row. What we can see that, there's area. Somebody at Microsoft tell me how you pronounce this usually. Area dash row index equal 1, equal 2, equal 3. So clearly these are the true rows. So let's use that. So if row dot has attribute area dash row index, I think it was, then we want to do something with it. And what we want to do first of all is simply set attribute draggable. I think that's right, and we want to set that to true. So now we're simply, and let's actually somewhere here just make sure that we get this. So let's output the row to the console. let's compile, see how this goes. We'll check here. Oh, excellent. We got some rows. That's all good. Okay, so let's see what happens now. So I've marked the row draggable. Haha, do you see that? I can now drag a row here. Okay. How cool is that? So now we told it, but you can see there's no way for me to drop this. If I had the SharePoint thing, it might show up as a usable destination. So I can drag the row, and but because I marked it draggable, but there's no way to put it. Okay, good start. So what we need to do is we need to make all the rows also a destination. And let's actually move we don't need this one right now, so let's get rid of that. So what we can do is that we can do add, and then it's called event listener. So add a event listener to each row. And I think if we add a drop, and then we need to have a function called handle drop, and I think the third parameter is just a false because there's no options on this. So now we need to add a function here. Function handle drop. Oh, handle a drop. Handle drop. And what we need to do in a drop handler is actually do a bit of maintenance. So we need to do prevent defaults. So not e. Oh, hang on, because I forgot the parameter. There needs to be a parameter here. So if e prevent default, then prevent default, we call that. So if there is a prevent default function, then we're gonna execute that so nothing else happens on this drop. And I think it's actually also proper to return a false. Or is it? No, perhaps not. So okay, let's try this. Let's try this. So I grab something. It's still okay. Let's check the JavaScript console that I didn't do something stupid. Nope. Okay, so this is not enough. These are not draggable. Okay, let's see what else we're missing. So we have, so what I usually do also is that I try to add the other event listeners. So we add an event listener for drag start and do a handle drag start false, and we add another one for event listener for drag over and a handle, I'll call that handle drag over false. So we need to create those functions also. Actually, let me make this bigger so you guys can see what I'm doing. Function, something like function handle drag start. That's also parameter. And so let's actually take a look at this console. Let's just print this out for a second, because there's something else that we need to think about here. I wonder how many of these tabs I end up having. Uh-oh, clearly something. So I broke something this time because I'm not able to drag anymore. Interesting. Let's take a quick peek at this. Find the row. And there's no draggable here. So let's go back to this one. Ah, did I forget to actually create this as a function? I think I did. Oh. And you know what? I think the prevent default actually should be on the drag over, and the handle drop is something else. Now that I think about it, it's called stop. Let me check my notes. Propagation. So if we have that, then we'll call stop propagation. This might be the main issue, and I think we need to. So if you Google drag and drop in JavaScript, you'll get a lot of recipes that kind of fills out all these functions, which was what I looked at to figure out how to do this in the first place. Now, okay, you can see now that this is now not a destination. I get the forbidden sign, but now these are destinations. That's awesome. Let's check it out. So what also happened is that we printed out, remember we added, before I got those mixed up, we printed out handle drag start, what we are actually dragging. So let's look at that for a second. So we get a drag event. And there's a bunch of positions, X, Y, coordinates and stuff like that. But there's also a source element. If we take a look at that, and we take a look at the attributes, then we can see that this is row 2. So, okay. Okay, so what we really would like is the primary key, right? And now it's easy because the primary keys, well, then this is sorted by sorting index. So row 2 was Boba Fett. So we really want the 4. So how can we get the 4? Well, now we're gonna, let's take a look at this. Let me show you something. Grab this guy. So this is the let's see what we can do. Let me make this a tad bigger. So if I grab this guy, we can see that this is actually the 4. But we can also see that there's an area, like the Disney princess Ariel. No. Called P key, comma 4. So that's actually my label up here, comma, and then the value. So let's try to grab this guy. And this is in a, so we can actually use our friend, the, okay, so let's go. So E source element. Go back here for a second. We were in console. This was, where were we? drag event, that's the E. Then it's source element. So we can actually, so the source element is already, that's our TR. Okay, so we'll use the same trick again. So E, that's source element, then we do query selector. And now it gets funky. So if we do a square bracket here, we can say area. I think I did this in the JavaScript Workbench video. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe and find that one. That's also a fun video. And then we want, I think let's do it like this. It has to start with, and we need single quotes in here just to make it complicated. So P key, I think, right? So let's actually print this out. Console.log and get this printed out. Let's try it again. So we want to find an element that has a area label attribute that starts with P key. So I grab Boba Fett, and you probably hear the mouse. So nothing happened because the drag is not initiated until I actually start dragging. Boom. And then I got the span, and we had the area label P. Perfect. So we had this one. Okay. So now that was the hard part, actually. So from a hack perspective, this is terrible because we are making all sorts of assumption on the static nature of internal structures of Business Central, and Microsoft can change this at any notice. Any CU could potentially break this completely. So that's why it's a hack. Anyway, let's do a get attribute on this one, and the attribute is of course the area label, now that we know we have it. And so this is just a string with a comma, so that's easy. I'll just continue. So now that we have this one, we can do a split with a comma. So now we have an array with split with commas. So in the array we want the second part, and JavaScript is 0 based as opposed to AL, that's 1 based. So the second part is 1, and I think there was a space there. So either we split, let's just say split with comma space, or we could trim this, but let's try. So we find let me just repeat this. This is a long single liner. We find with the query selector, we find the control in the DOM that has the area label with the name of our primary key. And then we get that attribute, we get the value, and we split it so we get the second part of it. This is okay. I'll grab Boba Fett again, move, and success. We got the 4, so that's the primary key. But this is not very production worthy. Let's actually grab and remove the primary key here. And we were in double quotes, so let's just call it like underscore field, and then we need probably up here to ID field, and then let's create a global variable called uppercase, lowercase field up here, so we can do we can do underscore field equal ID field. Then we need to go back to this one and add the parameter called ID field, and that's just a text, because in reality it will be a caption And let's go back to the page and tell that it's P key, but we could get fancy here also, but not this. So let's just try this again and see that Boba Fett is still number 4. Or we can perhaps do another one. Let's try with Viggo Mortensen. And we got a 3. Perfect. This is excellent. So now we know. Actually, we don't, because we probably need to save that somewhere. So let's add another variable, the current drag. Why not? And instead of just printing this guy, let's do current drag equal this one. So now we know what we're dragging. So now we can start looking at what's actually at the drop. So let's do the same thing again. I'll remove this console print and let's remove this one up also, just so we can kind of keep track of what we're doing. So let's look at the handle drop one. So print, we'll see what we get when we're dropping something. Okay, I'll open the console. Let's make it big wider. So I grab Boba Fett. And right now we're not printing, so I'll dump Boba Fett on Viggo. And we get a drag event again. And let's look at the same thing, the source element here. So in this case, so now you can see this is, so we because we assigned the draggable property to the row. So even though that there are other controls sitting on top of the row, what we actually dropped it on is not the row, even though that's the one that has the drop listener. We dropped it on the span, in this case, the span that has the Viggo Mortensen text. So we need to find our row, because otherwise we don't, we want to do the exact same trick now to figure out that it's number 3, right? That we drop primary key 4 on primary key 3. That's basically what we want to know. Then we can do stuff. So what we can do here, let me show you. So let's just, we can work with this one. So either source element, that's now the span. And what we can do is actually we can use a function called closest. So that works kind of the same thing as you can see the crazy. So we can do all sorts of stuff here. Not exactly the same as the query selector, but kind of. And anyway, so we can use the same syntax as we used up here, saying find me the closest table row connected to this one. So let's print that. Just let's figure out if this works or not. Okay, we're ready. Let's grab Boba Fett and put him on Viggo. Haha! We get a table row. Perfect, and we got the row index. So now we, okay. this is DOM gymnastics of the worst kind, sorry. So now we got the table row. So now we need to go back down to the row and find, so basically do the same thing as we did down here. So let me grab all this guy. Here we go. And put it up here. Poor. So on the dropped element, in this case the span, we find the row. So we climb back up in this case because there's no row further down in the DOM. So we climb back up, we find the row. Then from the row we find anything in an element in the DOM that has the area label that starts with the field name that we want to search for. So, and from that element we will then get the actual area label attribute when we'll split it again and get the second part. So let's do something like current drag dropped on this long line of crazy stuff. Okay, let's see where that's. So we'll grab Boba Fett and drop him on Bill Gates. Ha ha! 4 dropped on 5. This might actually work. This might actually work. Okay, 4 drops on 5. Okay, so what we need to do now is basically tell Business Central what happened. So let's create a where's that? Because that's just ugly. I think I have it in the startup script. So let's grab this thing here. And where are we? We're here. So let's create a function called drop event. How about that? And current drag, comma. Let's actually then take all this and current drop. How about that? Then do var. I don't know why I start variables with an underscore today, but it's kind of how it goes. So current drop. So current drag, comma current drop. Then we need to add an event. Oops, there we go. We need to add an event to our controller in. So add an event called current drop. So drag ID is a text and drop ID is a text. Okay, let's go back to our page now. So now we can add a trigger, drop event. And remember this is, so we actually get into primary keys here. So we should be able, let's create 2 variables now. So we can call one drag. And I think I call it drop table because I thought that was a pretty good SQL joke. So table is called drop table. So imagine the SQL statements for that. Well, I found it funny. Sorry, it's late night here. So I will create 2 variables, drag and drop, and we should be able to say drag ID. Of course, this only works with, the primary key is available. There's so many limitations here, but you get the idea, hopefully. So let's this, and then we can do a message saying dropped on %2. So drag dot description and drop dot description. Can you see that? So we get 2 records, and then we say that somebody is dropped on another one. So let's run and try this. I really hope this works. So we'll grab our good friend Boba Fett and drop him on Vigo. Okay, so I think that all we need now is to kind of create some sorting stuff, and there's tons of ways of doing this, and we're just gonna do a very, very lazy version here. So let's do if drag dot sorting index. Remember that this page is sorted by a field called sorting index, and right now this is like just default some data. So if sorting index for the drag is less than the sorting index of drop, then let's change the sorting index of the one we're dragging to be the drop sorting index +1, meaning that if we're dragging onto, we'll put it after. So we're dragging down in the order. Otherwise, if we're dragging up, let's do something like drag sorting index equal drop sorting index -1. So we'll drop it before. And we need to modify drag, and we need to do a cur page dot update false. Okay, let's try this. Man, let's try this. So I will take Boba Fett and put him on Vigo. Haha! Sorting index 51. I'll take, Boba Fett and put him back on Bill Gates. Bam. How about that? Let me do that again. I just can't stop smiling here. Boba Fett on Vigo. Boom. Boba Fett on Bill Gates. That's drag and drop sorting. Let's try it if we do this in edit. Can we still do this here? Or are we suddenly... No. Okay, I broke the JavaScript now, but while it lasted. Let me do an F5 here. So Boba Fett on Vigo, bam. All that worked. And I think we are totally out of time because this took way longer than it's supposed to. So I guess that's drag and drop of data, and it was just a normal table. So purely hack. So many shortcuts, so many improper solutions, but clearly it's possible to do some drag and drop here. So Let me know if this is something that you like, if you like to see more videos like this where I go through a hacking session, or if you have other suggestions for stuff that needs this kind of treatment. If you do, let me know. And you can't see that. Let me do this. I wore the Always Hacking t-shirt. I thought that was proper for this video. So remember to subscribe to the channel, and until next time, have a wonderful day.